Hi everyone, Professor Anne Saxe here, and today I'm going to be giving you a brief introduction into physical geography and what you can look forward to studying in this class. First, we want to ask, what is geography? If I was to give a literal definition for the word, I could break it down into its Greek roots. The first part of geo, meaning earth, and the second part meaning graphos, or description. So my literal definition of geography and what it means is earth description. Geography is a bit different, I feel, from other disciplines because it looks at the spatial distribution of things, how things are spread out over a given space. What are the patterns of different phenomena throughout a given space? And it looks at these things around the world, or it could be things in a very local scale, like in your neighborhood or in your city, etc. And geographers really want to know how things differ from place to place. So, for example, if I wanted to look here at this map of Africa's vegetation, I could make out some patterns and see in the north we have desert. And if I go to the dark green, I see that that's tropical rainforest. Well, I might have some questions as to why the distribution of vegetation is the way it is in these particular locations. And that's the main goal of geography, is to describe and understand locations and distributions. And three main questions that we might ask are, what is where? So this would just be descriptive. What do you see in North Africa? Desert. And then why is it there? Why do we have desert here? We might look at rainfall patterns. We might look at its position in terms of latitude. Is it along the equator? Is it in a high pressure belt? And then we might want to know, so what? Why should I care? And that's really what you all are probably most concerned with. We want to be able to make predictions. We want to be able to understand patterns when we look at geography and try to answer geographic questions. All right, then how do geographers do this? We break up geography into two broad branches. And if you're watching this video, most likely you're going to be studying the physical branch of geography, which looks at natural phenomena. So in this diagram here, you see we're going to be looking at landforms. We want to know, why are volcanoes in some places and not in other places? We want to know a lot these days about climate change. What are some of the patterns we're seeing in different parts of the ocean? And even though we try to break up phenomena into physical geography and human geography, it's really hard to keep them mutually exclusive because humans impact the environment and the environment impacts humans, as we know. I mean, climate change is one area where we know humans are making an impact on global temperatures. And then we can also look at how hurricanes affect people. If you were studying in a cultural geography class, you'd be looking more at patterns of human activity and culture. What are some of the things that you typically associate with culture? What languages does a group of people speak? Or what languages could I find, say, in the country of India or in the United States? Where are populations clustered? But you would still ask the same question. How could I describe this place in terms of population? Why is it that way? Why are there so many people in this particular place? Is it because there's a good job market? Is it because there is access to resources like water? Things like that. And then geography is interested in interrelationships. So again, you can't really separate exclusively physical and exclusively human sciences from each other. Geography is very interdisciplinary, and it does look at how humans impact the environment and how the environment impacts humans. So they're always going to be related. In the science of physical geography, then we can expect to focus on the physical elements of the landscape. So in this picture, for example, this is Yellowstone National Park. You see in that park geysers, you'd see hot springs, and we would want to know, why are they there? And then make patterns about that, because of course that is going to impact people, or could if it was something in a populated area. And going back to that, also in the second picture, we see, if you notice, the sky looks very hazy. And this would be one way. I'm pretty sure that this is not from a volcanic eruption or something. It's air pollution. And we know that that definitely impacts humans and that humans cause pollution. So the process involved in the development of the physical elements of the landscape, and very importantly, their distribution over Earth. So again, it's a spatial science. We want to look at how things are spread out or not spread out over a given space, and the basic interrelationships between people and the environment. We have many themes in geography, but two of the broad themes include global environmental change. Here we're looking at natural and human-caused processes that could alter the world's landscapes. We'll also see how processes can alter the world's atmosphere and its ocean. So it's not just exclusively landscapes. As you see in this map above, this map shows temperature anomalies in 2025. So temperatures as they deviated from the averages between 1951 and 1980. And then this shows you that you don't really see, at least I'm not seeing any areas that are colder than those averages, but you do see many areas, particularly in the Arctic and Antarctic, that are much higher than in previous times. And we want to know how much of that is due to natural processes like El Niños, cyclical changes in the climate, and then also how much is being produced by carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the environment. Some environmental change can occur over a few years or decades, but some we really need to look back thousands of years to understand how things have changed. Some examples of that are with coastal erosion. Climate change will be the ever-present example, and something like acid rain. You could also look perhaps at landslides. Some of those, they can occur very quickly, but if you want to see how they have occurred thousands of years ago, you could also study phenomena related to that, or say looking at cliff faces and finding fossils there. You could get a record maybe of the different creatures that lived in those areas many thousands of years ago. But primarily we will, in physical geography, pay special attention to the impact of human activities on the global environment, especially as they are accelerating. The second theme is globalization, and this is a related physical geography theme. Maybe geographers might not tend to think of it as a more obvious theme, but because it is humans and environments cannot be mutually excluded from each other. They're always interdependent, interrelated. Globalization, even though people tend to think of it as related to economics, global trade, the stock market, things like that, or how ideas spread, the internet, cell phones, AI. It also is an important theme when we look at the natural world as we are interconnected. And an example here is someplace far away from the United States, like Malaysia, where deforestation is occurring. And that is not because necessarily of within that country, but because other parts of the world are demanding timber and commercial agriculture or products that come from commercial agricultural crops like palm oil. And we look at 4 principal components that we, in addition to breaking geography into physical geography and human geography, we break down the environment into 4 components or spheres. The first one is the atmosphere. We do this to just make our study a bit more manageable. But like the previous topics, we can't really separate these spheres from each other. So even though atmos, or atmo, which comes from the Greek for air, has to do with processes that occur in the air, so cloud formation, hurricane development, rain, snow, etc., you know that you can't separate that from the hydrosphere because water evaporates off of the oceans and other bodies of water, and that contributes to water vapor in the air, which can then form clouds, and so on. Hydrosphere, which is Greek for water, again has to do with water processes, how waves and water can erode landscapes, form rivers, and things like that. Within the hydrosphere, we have the cryosphere, which is the frozen portion of water on the Earth's surface. And then the biosphere, which is life on Earth. So here you see, I believe it's an elk. And again, we cannot separate the hydrosphere and the atmosphere from life because all living things depend on water. So what changes here and here will impact here and vice versa. Finally, the lithosphere, which is Greek for stone. So if you think of the Neolithic era, that was the Stone Age. And that's your landscapes. So how are landscapes created through volcanic activity, earthquakes and mountains, and then what processes tear them down? So that is a quick overview of the study of physical geography. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you'll stay tuned for my next video on the geographic grid. Thanks for watching.